So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hi, villains, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. It's been a while. It's been over a week since I've come to chat to you, or even since we have come to chat to you. It is me going solo again today with a little bit of a transfer link rundown, I suppose, today of a player that I think kind of came out of left field or right field, as the case may be, because it is a right midfielder, right winger / centre forward, or as I feel, / a second striker in Julian Alvarez from River Plate. And that's what I'm going to chat to you guys about today. Obviously, somebody that has been mentioned in the news recently. I think he has shot to fame by being kept in the the Copa America squad with Argentina this year. Obviously kept there over players like Emi Buendia while, playing in similar positions. He was kept over Emi Buendia, but he's somebody that South American pundits have known an awful lot about him. Really, really hit the ground running this year in particular, and has been somebody that the Argentinian footballing fraternity seem to have been keeping an eye on for the last 2 to 2.5 years since he burst on the scene as an 18-year-old with River Plate. As we know, River Plate's a very, very famous club. We have a bit of history with River Plate previously, as it was the club that we signed Juan Pablo Angel from. And, going back to such a historic and such a famous club in South American football, to go and sign somebody like Julian Alvarez would be a fantastic coup for a team like Aston Villa, because this isn't the first time that he's been linked with a European team. He's been linked with quite a few European teams over the past 12, 24, 36 months. I suppose really when you go back, the big famous one is that Real Madrid had him over for trials, and he looked all for the world as if he was going to sign for Real Madrid, but it just never materialized. But he went back to River Plate. He knuckled down. He learned his trade, I suppose, or learned his trade as he began to grow and play in the men's game. And I find that that's a small bit derogatory to say, but you know what I mean by it when I say in the men's game. He wasn't playing with at his age group. He started to play at an age group or at the senior group, should I say? And he reaped the rewards. 2019, he ended up going to the World Cup, the Under-20s World Cup with Argentina. Scored some goals and played a lot of games there for that team, and has been a mainstay really in the Argentinian under-20s team so far. And as we know, made his senior Argentinian debut only recently, this June, just gone, as well. So he is he's somebody that's really, really highly thought of, and he's somebody that, to be honest with you, when his name came across the ticker tape, being linked with Aston Villa, that you can't help but get a small bit excited for somebody like this. So let's just take a quick little look at Julian Alvarez, and we'll see if we can decipher maybe where he's going to play for Aston Villa, or what we're going to look like when we line up with somebody like this in the team. So let me just share up a little something that I did here. So I put together this based on watching some tape of him. I acquired, and I'm just going to put that in quotation marks, I acquired some of his scouting tape from the 2020-2021 season. I also did the customary, as everybody I'm sure is listening to this podcast has done. I've done the customary, watched YouTube to try and get a view of his goals, but I also watched some of the games that he played as well, obviously on double speed, because it's one thing watching games when the commentary is in English and you can begin to kind of get engrossed in the game, but when the commentary is in Spanish, and I know everybody knows the Spanish commentators can be very, very expressive, and when somebody scores a goal, they go on forever and ever and ever. But I find it sometimes a small bit distracting, because unfortunately I don't speak Spanish. So apologies for that if we do have any Spanish listeners or any Argentinian listeners here. You've got a most beautiful language average. I just don't understand what people are saying when I'm watching the tape. But that is a digression of the highest order. These are just some of the numbers that I pulled on Julian Alvarez. As I say, with somebody like this, I don't want to look at the statistics too much, because I think that the statistics can be a bit misleading. Obviously, playing in competitions in South America, you're given more license to be free when you are with the ball, especially younger players. And we've seen players really tear it up in South America, and then come to Europe and maybe not be able for the rough and tumble of the game. So what I wanted to do was watch him and see how he played. My motto, I think as it will always be, is that you want to scout the player, you don't want to scout the shirt. You want to scout the player, you don't want to scout the league that he plays in. So you want to see what he does, how he moves, and where he gets around the field. You want to see also as well, take into account the strength of opposition that he played against. So who is Julian Alvarez? Well, he's Argentinian, go figure, considering he's played for the Argentinian national team. I have him pegged down. Well, most people have him pegged down to play right wing or centre forward. I think he would be mostly, if he was to sign for Aston Villa, played in the centre forward position or that second striker, or maybe that number 10 role. I've said this 1,000,001 times before, and I think that people just think this is maybe the only thing I can say. Dean Smith signed Ross Barkley initially to be a number 10, but played him in that second striker role. Very, very close to Ollie Watkins. And I think that that's something that Dean Smith wants to have fluidity in the three to play behind Ollie Watkins, and also have an option to play up top to give Watkins some minutes when he isn't, if for any reason he can't play, or maybe, to take him off and keep him fresh. And I think Julian Alvarez would be a nice addition from that point of view. He's 5'8". He's right-footed, so he's not the tallest man in the world, and I think that's a generous 5'8" that I'm giving him. He's probably maybe more on the 5'7" side of things, but he doesn't play small, and I think that's really, really important thing. It's a really good thing to be able to say about a player. I'm not blessed with massive vertical ability. I am not a tall man by any stretch of the imagination. I hope I didn't break any hearts out there. I am not a tall man at all. I am only in and around 5'7", 5'8". But Julian Alvarez togs out an awful lot taller. And when you see him on the field, he doesn't look to be very, very small. He doesn't look like a Zola type when he's out in the field. He doesn't look noticeably smaller than other players. But he's 5'8", and he kind of moves around the field, and he has feet, and he's got movement like a player that knows he's not tall as well. Looking at some of his games, I watched some of his games against Boca Juniors, and he scored a header in that game. He jumped, beat a person in the air at the back post, got his head to the ball, and I think that was the winner. I think it was a 1-0 win against Boca Juniors in the year just gone as well. Could have been maybe the last or second last game in the season. So he does have some aerial ability, but it's not going to be his strength. He wouldn't be anywhere near an Ollie Watkins in the air. But then again, Ollie Watkins has a couple of inches on him for jumping for the ball and for knocking the ball on for hold up play. So Julian Alvarez is a completely different type of player. I have likened him to two similar players here based on what I've seen from him. Number one, I'm just going to go with the complete another stereotype of pick Argentinian player and liken him to Julian Alvarez. But this does have a small bit of thought, nuance, and reasoning towards it, is Javier Saviola. So Javier Saviola, once again, was a former River Plate great. He came to prominence in and around the same age as Julian Alvarez for River Plate, and he played quite a few games for them, and he was picked up and he was on the radar of Barcelona, and he ultimately ended up going to Barcelona and having a pretty decent record for them. I think he scored like 49 goals in 120 games or something. So, he didn't exactly disgrace himself when he was with Barcelona. He performed pretty well and at a high level. But what Javier Saviola had was this trickiness about him. Once again, 5'8", 5'9" type player as well, but his movement, his prowess in and around the box, his ability to be able to drop off a centre half, link up play, and move to the channels, link up play from the channels as well. Could play in a front two, could play up front on his own. That was the type of player that Saviola was. He didn't have the longevity as such within European football. Well, he did. He stuck around European football quite a bit, but didn't have the longevity at the top level. But there's numerous reasons as to why that didn't happen for him. The similarities, as I mentioned, between himself and Julian Alvarez is if you look at some of the games that Alvarez played this year, and you look at what he likes to do is he likes to peel off into the channels. He plays in that infamous half space. On either wing, he likes to get in positions there. He has played, as you can see from his heat maps below, he has played anywhere across that front three. But in the latter half of last year, especially in a couple of Libertadores, he played more up front and he got more goals in that competition. You can see there he played 8 games in the Copa Libertadores. He scored 5 goals last season in that competition. So he had a real purple patch towards the end of the season last year, especially in that competition. But the goals came from right side of the field, they came from left side of the field, and they came from balls over the top. Now, the second player I've got in there, and I know this is going to sound a small bit hyperbolic, and it's, take it for what it is. There's a reason why I've picked David Villa as another similar type player. Now, I don't want people to fall off their chairs and say, oh my God, we're signing the next David Villa. That's not what I'm saying with regards to this. The reason that I've picked David Villa is when you look at Julian Alvarez, especially when he's played up top in a striker's role, and when you look when he gets the ball in and around the penalty area, watch how deliberate he is with the ball. He really reminds me of a David Villa. There's no wasted movement in there. Everything is deliberate, and he's looking to curl it into the bottom corner or the top corner, or he's looking to fashion an opportunity to get a shot at goal. That David Villa for me was one of the prime examples of a player that could do this. Whether it was with Valencia, whether it was with Barcelona again, as I said, same as Javier Saviola, whether it was even with Man City when he came to the Premier League, whether it was with whatever club, Spain specifically, David Villa was, you could call him, he was a complete striker, but like when he got the ball in the box, you were almost guaranteed a goal for me. He was just unbelievably deliberate with his movements, and he didn't need to put his laces through the ball and smash it into the back of the net every time. But what he could do was he could fashion his own chances once the ball was given to him in the box. He could run off the shoulder of the last defender. He could come in from wide positions, so he was no mug when he had the ball in the attacking third, as I'm trying to say, is David Villa. And I see some of that in Julian Alvarez. I see some of it. I absolutely do. He scores a goal against Venezuela for the Argentinian under-20s. And he comes in from the left-hand side. So his movement is, he comes in from out wide and he moves in from the left-hand side, takes a little touch in the box, touches it past the player and passes into the bottom corner. But when you look at it, like when he gets the ball initially, he's trying to stand that defender up. He's trying to run to a position so he can stand that defender up in that exact position at that angle within the box so he can take the deliberate touch around the defender and place it in the bottom corner. It's hard to explain. It's kind of hard to explain without being able to show you the goal, but he's very, very deliberate in his movements. And I love that in a striker because you just can't teach that in a striker. And when you do have to teach that to strikers, teach them to be deliberate and to abandon all their natural ability and be deliberate, they end up more often than not fluffing their lines. So if somebody is naturally able to be deliberate in the box, it's for me, it's a huge plus. And it's not something that you see an awful lot from such a young player. Think of maybe somebody like a Jermaine Defoe as well. I know I've gone from David Villa to Jermaine Defoe, but both of them equally adept with the ball at their feet in the box, and they knew what they were doing, and they were able to carve out chances for themselves. Not exactly the tallest players in the world, but they were able to maneuver the ball around, make it their own, and score. And that's a massive skill to be able to have. You look as well, he's got great movement through the middle. You look as well, he scored a goal against South Africa for the Argentinian under-20s as well. You'll be able to find it. You can just Google Julian Alvarez goal versus South Africa and it comes up on YouTube. It's a crappy video, but you'll be able to see his movement through the middle. It's very simple. His movement through the middle is very simple. He just knows to get to the penalty area as quick as possible. Echoes of an Ollie Watkins who likes to do that, gets to the penalty area and decides whether he's going to go back post, front post. He doesn't make his decision too early. He makes his decision based on what opens up in front of him. But for this goal in particular, Alvarez just continues his run. goes carved straight through the middle of the defense. Ball is played back to him, simple tap in. So he pops up in those positions, pops up in advantageous positions, he knows how to play as a striker for such a small man as well. And he scored another absolute cracker. So he scored one lovely goal where he's taken it up from the left-hand side in on his own against Venezuela, as I said. Takes it in his own, stands up the defender, shifts the ball across the defender and passes it into the net. Second goal is one where it's laid on for him, but his movement through the middle, coming from out wide, moves into the middle, arcs his run, makes a straight run through, has a little tap in. And then to complete the three goals that I looked at as well, or three goals that I picked out, should I say, is a goal versus Santa Fe de Colombia. And I want you to watch this goal, because when the goal comes from a long ball. It comes from a long free kick from River Plate in their own defensive area, in their own defensive half, should I say. A very long ball. You don't even see Alvarez in shot, but the ball goes up, it goes over the defense. Alvarez takes the ball out of the sky, something beautiful. It was like caramel the way it came down on his foot. It was just beautiful. Takes it down, one touch, bang, and the ball would still be traveling if it didn't hit the net. It was an absolute scorcher. I implore you all to find it on YouTube and watch it, because when you see it, he just takes that ball down and absolutely hammers it into the top corner. There's no saving it. It's just natural skill. I talked about him being deliberate in the box. This was the converse of it. This showed that he has this natural ability to be able to just hammer one in, and has that little bit of South American flair that we all love to see. And we think that, if you can sprinkle that in along a lot of the workhorses on this Aston Villa team, that's something that we will be very, very happy to see. But yeah, I suppose realistically speaking, when we look at a player like this, what is the likelihood of him signing for Aston Villa? I think that is going to be a valid question. It's going to be a real valid question. What is the likelihood? What pitfalls are going to be in the way for Julian Alvarez to sign for Aston Villa? So what could go wrong, I suppose, essentially? Well, number one, we mightn't be able to agree a fee. I've seen numbers anywhere from 15 million up to 25 million. I've seen a report today from South America from one person. It's just a one-person report that says it's agreed. Fees agreed of 20 million euros. Who knows what to believe? I personally am not sure. Like, I haven't heard that it's been done. I've only just seen on Twitter this, that, and the other. But it seems that we are very much wanting to have conversations with Julian Alvarez. He's very high on the list of players that Ajax want to purchase as well. And we know Ajax's pedigree in picking up players from South America, or picking up youth players, should I say, and bringing them through, and making them stars, I suppose, at that level, and selling them on. It's going to be an interesting one. It absolutely will. It just goes to show that our scouting network is far and vast, and the reason that it is far and it is vast, I think I'm going to go into a small bit. I hadn't planned on going into this in this podcast, but I think I will. The reason that I feel that we're looking more towards South America is due to work permit situations. As you know, some of you may or may not have heard that the UK have left Europe. There was a thing called Brexit, just in case you didn't hear about it. And since then, there has been new work permit regulations, the requirements that have been brought in for players that want to move to England post Brexit. Okay, and I took a small look into this, and I wanted to see what the situation was with these work permits. And from the 1st of January 2021, new rules have come into place. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail in this. I might do a full podcast on this itself, but basically the nuts and bolts are that these new rules will allow teams to purchase players from South America a small bit easier, especially players from South America that are under the age of 21. So with regards to getting a work permit, Players will need to satisfy certain points, a certain criteria. We all know that. That's always been the way it was. With Brexit, or with the new work permit criteria since Brexit, it means that players that have played in competitions like the Copa Libertadores or the Copa Sudamerica now have an elevated status with regards to the banding, or the amount of aggregated points that they will get for playing a certain amount of minutes in those games. So we all know at this point in time that you have X player, and when he comes to get a work permit, everybody normally says, oh, has he played the requisite amount of games? Has he played 35% or 39% of games for a top 10 FIFA ranked side? That way he automatically gets a work permit. That's one way of getting work permit. Yes, it absolutely is. But there are numerous ways. So there are 6 different aggregating tables, and I won't go into too much detail in this. There's 6 different aggregating tables whereby you can earn points from based on the FIFA World Ranking of your team, based on the level of competition that your team played in, whether it be continental competition, where your team finished in your own national league, little things like this, how many minutes you played in those, and so on. So the threshold is that players need to accumulate a total of 15 points from those 6 different aggregated tables, whereby those points are administered from. And that has to be done over a 12-month period. Now, work permits, I've looked at Julian Alvarez, and I'm not a work permit aficionado. I don't know whether this is 100%, but my view on Julian Alvarez is that based on the amount of time that he has played in the Copa Libertadores, the fact that he's playing for a team in Argentina, which are ranked number 7th in the world, the fact that River Plate have finished 2nd in their league last season, and the fact that he plays in a league band 5 league, which if you were to look at the tables, would mean that he would get 4 points for that. All in all, adding up all the accumulated points based on his last 12 months of football, based on the competitions he's played in, I think he would get a work permit. I think he would accumulate 16 points based on those tables, on my very early outlook on it and what I can see now. So my reasoning for this is based on his age, based on the amount of games that he's played, based on the competitions he's played in, and based on where his team finished in their own domestic league last year. I think that Julian Alvarez would have a very, very, very good shot at getting a work permit based on the point system. Should he not get it based on the point system, I think he would have a very, very good shot at getting a work permit based on the appeal system, where it will go to an independent panel, based on the fact that he is so highly thought after, the fact that he's breaking into his senior international team, and the fact that a lot of big clubs are looking to snag him away. So that's basically it on Julian Alvarez. That's what I've been able to find out. I'm still waiting on some more quote-unquote acquired tape of Julian Alvarez to get a better sense of him. Hopefully this has been a good piece for you. I don't want anyone to take this away that we're signing the next AVFC. I hope to God we do. But basically, as I say, if you watch any of his video, if you watch any of his tapes, if you watch any of his YouTube stuff, you'll see what I mean by that. He's very deliberate in and around the box. And that's what we need with Aston Villa Football Club. We need somebody to be able to finish the chances we take, a la Ollie Watkins has done this season. And I think that Julian Alvarez would be a very, very good foil, whether either he's played up top with Watkins, whether he comes in instead of Watkins, whether he's used as an auxiliary right winger, should Buendia, should Traore maybe be injured, or maybe should we want to shake it up a small bit. I think he has the versatility and a lot in his arsenal to be able to go on and contribute massively for Aston Villa should he be signed. So thanks everybody for listening and for watching. Please, 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 we would absolutely love it if you could subscribe to us on YouTube. Just hit the subscribe button. Give us a like as well. If you're watching this video and you like what you see, please give us a thumbs up. It really, really helps us. Please leave a comment. I hope and I try to get back to as many of those comments as well under the YouTube videos as I possibly can. Love the interaction. Love everything you guys do for the podcast. Please also follow us and subscribe to the audio podcast and give that a listen too. As I say, we do mix it up between the two platforms. But I'm just delighted to be able to come to you today and do a little transfer piece on Julian Alvarez. We will be back later on in the week. You may have noticed that we've completely neglected to welcome Ashley Young back to the club. That is something that we haven't been able to sit down and record. It's been mental here in For the Love of Paul McGrath Towers at the moment, but we are going to sit down, myself and Paddy, and do a look back at Ashley Young and look forward to what he can bring to the team. Anybody get any ideas or want us to do any videos? I still am in the middle of doing a James Ward-Prowse video as well, so apologies that one hasn't come out. I hope it will drop later on next week. I've expedited this one based on the fact that there are some reports that he is due to sign, or that Julian Alvarez is, coming close to an agreement with Aston Villa. But look, it's all in the stars. Let's see what happens, and let's see if anything does materialize from it. So if you really, really like this, guys, please share it around the place. Please give it a like. Please give us a subscription, whether it's on YouTube, costs you nothing, or whether it's through the audio podcast. We would really, really appreciate it. So thanks very much, everybody, for watching and for listening. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.